So in today's video, I wanted to talk about top 5 books for new readers. I know for me, when I was getting back into reading about, 5 or 6 years ago, I wanted something where it was entertaining, I could semi-learn something, and it was easy to navigate. So with those, many stipulations, I was able to find what I liked, what I didn't like. After that, it was easy to pick up my next read, buy books when I would go into the bookstore. So again, I have 5 of them for you, but also I have 5 genres. So we're going to do nonfiction, YA, fiction, memoir, and classic. So let's just get started. Okay, so for nonfiction, you guys know that I'm not really a big nonfiction person. It sometimes tends to be a little bit laborious for me, but I have found a little that I have read. I have found really good ones. And I would say the first person that does nonfiction really well, especially like critical analysis, is James Baldwin. And The Fire Next Time is a prime example. This is basically a guide that James Baldwin wrote to his nephew on how to, be a black man in society, how to navigate in the world as a black human being, as a black man. I think the reason why I enjoyed this is because it did not read like a typical nonfiction where you feel like they're just spitting out facts and it can kind of get, again, like I said, laborious. This was not. And another thing that I liked about this book, it's very short. I read this book in a day. This book is only 106 pages. James Baldwin's writing is like no other, and if you notice, especially back in 2020, there was a resurgence because of the black uprisings and Black Lives Matter, and his name has become even more relevant. And then another thing I say with James Baldwin, when you read him, you automatically feel intellectual. You feel proud to be a black person, even though he does talk about the injustice and everything that has and everything that comes along with it. You still, I know when I read it and when I do read his works, his nonfiction and his fiction, I feel proud to be a black American, a black woman, a black human being, a black person, and he will do that for you. Next is memoir. Now, the easiest one to start with, especially if you want to read black literature, it's a classic. Everyone talks about it, everyone knows about it. It is I Know Where the Cage Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I have 2 copies of this book. This was the first book I ever read on my own when I was in 8th grade. I was a late reader, didn't read at all. You have a young black child that was raised by her grandmother. Her mom is in and out of her life, daddy in and out. The one person that she loves and adores, and they love and adore her back, is her brother Bailey. Their relationship is just so sweet. Some hard, topics that go on because you're dealing with, sexual abuse towards a minor. You're dealing with violence. The fact that Maya goes mute for years because of something, because of, her being violated. She believes that if I talk, something horrible is going to happen, and you find out in this book. Now, I have read all of Maya Angelou's memoirs, and I would say, like I said, this one holds a special place to my heart, but The Heart of a Woman is probably my favorite, I believe. The Heart of the Woman is my favorite, and also Gathered Together in My Name. And next is fiction. And I remember, again, when I was starting into reading, I wanted something where it was entertaining. I wanted something that was so entertaining where I didn't want to put the book down. And this author does this for me every single time I have read her books, all of her books. I own all of her books. She's my favorite author of all times. You guys probably already know who it is. And it is Bernice L. McFadden. And I'm going to say Sugar. Even though my favorite book by her is this, Praise Song for the Butterfly. But this can be kind of difficult. With this, it has, obviously some hard topics, but overall, it's a friendship, an unconventional friendship between a younger woman and an older woman. The younger woman happens to be a prostitute, Sugar Lacey. You're not going to forget Sugar Lacey. And the way that Bernice writes her, when you see her walking in Bigelow, Arkansas, you're not going to forget that scene. Pearl is a married older woman. She has 3 children. She's a church woman, very, conservative, do things right. And they become friends and you just see how it goes. Again, this is a page turner. You want to know what's going to happen. Next is classic literature. This is also for me. I'm still getting into classic literature, like typical classic literature that people think is classic literature. But my goal always for classic literature is for me to find something that is by a Black author. Of course, you guys know early in the year I did get into, literature, classic literature that was not, Black, and I really did enjoy it. But again, we always go back to Black literature. And I've talked about her before, and I noticed that not a lot of people, when it comes to classic literature, talk about this book. Also, it's considered a slave narrative, and this is also not on the list I see a lot. And it is Elizabeth Kingsley, Behind the Scenes, or 12 Years a Slave and 4 Years in the White House. Again, like I said, I've talked about this author so many times. Classics, again, like I said, it can be laborious. You need something that's short and sweet. And this is short and sweet. This is 160 something pages. You can also read this in a day. Also, it does not read like a slave narrative. That's one reason why I liked it, because you learned about her life, you got facts, but the way that she wrote it, it was perfect. And Elizabeth Kingsley, she was an enslaved woman. She is known for being the dressmaker and confidant of Mary Todd Lincoln, which is Abraham Lincoln's wife. And she talks about, life in the White House, because she was such best friends with Mary. In fact, that when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, the first person that she called and wanted to talk to was her. Out of the dresses that you see of Mary Todd Lincoln, she is the one that constructed it. This also is considered a memoir too, because again, it's talking about her life. But yeah. And then lastly, I want to talk about YA. Now, this YA author, she is not Black, she's Indian. With YA, especially reading it as an adult, it can be kind of challenging because again, YA, the age range is what, like 12 to 17 or something like that. And y'all know they're children. But it's so hard to explain. Sometimes I still feel like I am a little bit not reading a YA book. And this is an automatic buy author for me. I've read all her books. She has 4. Every time she comes out with something, I will get it. And the book that I think is her best is Meet Me in Mumbai by Sabina Khan. This is her 4th book. This is the recent book that came out about 2 years ago. This book was so good for me, you guys, where I put this on my top pick for 2022. That's how good it is. It is about a young Muslim girl. All her books, they're Muslim, and they deal with LGBTQ. So you have a young Muslim girl named Asha. Asha is about 17 years old, going on 18. She's from India. She moved to the United States to go to school, finish out her high school year, her senior year, and then she wants to go to university. Her parents want her to go to university in America. Does that, is doing well, does what she needs to do. She meets a young man named Suish. He does not go to the same school as her, but he, is like the only Indian, because she's always like the only Indian in, her school and things like that. They, start talking, develop a friendship. They develop a relationship, and she gets pregnant. And she's 17, and she's Muslim, and she's not married. So she decides, I'm going to have to give this baby up for adoption, because I know I can't take care of it. And so she just ends up vanishing, but there's a reason why. And when you read it, you'll learn why. So yeah, that's the first part. And then the second part is Maya, who is Asha's birth daughter. Maya is adopted by 2 same-sex parents. Has a great life, love her moms, love her little sister. She also is like the only, Indian girl, basically. And she finds a box of her mother's things, and it says, when you are 18, if you find it in your heart, can you meet me in Mumbai, which is a city in India? And you see how it goes. This was so good, you guys. I had every emotion. And one thing I love about Sabina Khan, she talks. You learn about, the Indian culture, you learn about the Muslim culture. It comes to mothers that are unwed, that are unmarried, and especially if you're a teenager, that's a no-go. And Asha knew, oh my gosh, I'm bringing shame on my family, shame on me. And like, she knew that if she would have the baby and keep it, they were gonna ostracize her. Like, they're heavy on that, where they won't even talk to you anymore. It's like you're dead. So yeah. But this, y'all, this was good. Again, like I said, it's a YA book and it had YA aspects. I still was able to read it, and again, I felt in some parts like I wasn't reading a YA book. So yeah, guys, that is it when it comes to my top 5 books for new readers. Again, when you're getting into reading, start small. Get something that is 100 pages or less. Get something that will be entertaining to you. Pick books with, the same interests that you love. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. You don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more Black books.